I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody...
Imagine a quiet Parisian morning, the air still filled with the scent of warm croissants and the rumble of old bicycles along the sidewalk. Without the hysteria of bodyguards or the throng of cameras, Taehyung suddenly appears, striding lightly under the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. The full video immediately bears witness to an extraordinary adventure, V, not a stage star captivating millions, but an ordinary man pursuing inspiration in his own steps. In one scene, he enters a small boutique displaying handmade leather goods. V's hands trace each stitch, his eyes sparkling as he examines the details. He selects a slim, dark brown wallet, holding it with earnestness as if weighing the story it holds. The moment feels personal, making us feel the idol's deep appreciation for human art. Not far away, the camera captures him browsing the perfume shelves in a niche shop. Glass bottles are neatly lined up, each offering the promise of a unique scent. With a small smile, V sprays a single spritz on his wrist, closing his eyes for a moment to savor the fragrance. This brief scene sparked a wave of speculation. Which perfume would be the signature scent of V's new era? Fans immediately took to search engines, filling the comment section with guesses and hopes. The journey continued to a street corner where a vintage vinyl store beckoned him. V opened the covers of vintage albums, gazing at the beautifully written titles of jazz and French chansons. He then placed a record in the basket, as if choosing a melody from the past to take home. His small laugh as he struggled to read the small letter titles touched my heart. Even global stars have a humorous vulnerability that makes us smile. Strong black coffee at a sidewalk stall became a silent witness to the next chapter. With a paper cup in hand, he sat facing the street, following every puff of engine exhaust, watching pedestrians pass by. Each sip felt like an expression of gratitude for a moment of silence, proof that celebrities also need quiet spaces to return to their roots. Suddenly, V reached for a cloth bag filled with local fruit at an open-air market. He selected a green apple, smelled its aroma, and then paid the vendor with a warm greeting. This simple moment bridges the gap between superstardom and the friendliness of a traditional market, reminding us that human warmth is everywhere, not just on a grand stage. Dusk begins to fall, and V concludes the day's adventure with a stop at a contemporary art gallery. The floor is filled with neon light installations and abstract sculptures, a stark contrast from the vintage boutique he visited earlier that morning. He gazes at one of the old works, then touches a nearby small table, as if reading the waves of meaning hidden behind the modern design. Many speculate he's seeking inspiration for his next art project. When the screen finally fades, and the soundtrack shifts to the quiet beat of a Parisian sidewalk, the viewer realizes, this isn't just a shopping video, but an artist's inner journey. Every item he chooses, every step he takes, weaves a story of intimacy between his idol and the enchanting city. And as the word merci hangs in the air at the end of the clip, V's thanks to Paris for giving him his story, we know one thing for sure, this adventure is just the beginning. Paris is only the first chapter. The world awaits Taehyung's next creative step, proving that the beauty of life is found in simple, meaningful moments. He gazes up at the Parisian night sky, beginning to fill with tiny stars, as if searching for answers among the dim streetlights. In the silence, the pulse of city life can be heard, the hum of traffic, the laughter of scooter riders, and the clatter of shells at a nearby restaurant. V stands for a moment on the sidewalk, wiping his eyes at the twinkling city lights, inhaling the aroma of warm bread and the summer breeze. The moment feels sacred, like a pause of gratitude before embarking on the next chapter of his journey. The next flash captures him entering a ceramics shop on the corner, where he selects a minimalist mug with thin gold lines. He touches every curve of the item carefully, appreciating the beauty wrapped in everyday function. As the cashier wraps his purchases in brown paper, V thanks them softly, a scene that confirms that simplicity can also be priceless when viewed with the heart. The atmosphere shifts as V explores the corridors of the Louvre Museum from a distance, refraining from entering immediately. He stands at the edge of the Pont d'Arts bridge, capturing the view of the glass palace and ancient statues across the river. His gaze is distant, as if absorbing the long history carved into the museum's thick walls. Once again, he silently witnesses the intersection of past and future, without having to shout to attract attention, simply being present and observing. His steps take him to a hidden rooftop bar, where he enjoys a glass of red wine while gazing out at the city lights. Soft jazz music plays, blending with the lively conversation of the patrons. There, V is not just a global idol, but a simple guest immersed in the atmosphere of the Parisian night. He raises his glass to the camera, allowing the viewer to experience the intimacy of the moment, the wine, the lights, and the warmth of the open space on the city rooftop. As the video ends with V climbing the stairs to the sidewalk and taking a final sip of his wine, the viewer is left with a deep sense of curiosity. What is the meaning behind each choice of item? How will this experience influence his future work and creative journey? One thing is certain, through his Paris adventures, Taehyung teaches us that the beauty of life lies in the small details, and this story is just the beginning of extraordinary stories to come. His footsteps echoed on the gravel path as V made his way back to the Le Marais area. He wandered through alleys lined with colorful murals, occasionally stopping to examine a piece that caught his eye. With his index finger, he touched the wet paint, feeling the texture and story behind the strokes. The momentary silence celebrated freedom of expression, as if whispering that true art is everywhere, including city walls. At a traditional candy stall, V chuckled as the owner offered him rose and lavender-flavored cookies. He took a small bite, then nodded in satisfaction before purchasing a box to take home. This moment bridged taste and memory, creating a sweet memory he would carry with him for the rest of his life. Viewers of the video were captivated by the small details, how a single cookie could tell so much about his love for local culture. Right beside the Seine, V stopped under a flowering chestnut tree. He turned to the camera, then took a deep breath, exhaling the air tinged with the scent of flowers. Dusk slowly turned to night, and the city lights began to dance on the water's surface. This scene emphasized that every quiet moment holds beauty waiting to be discovered. The atmosphere changed as V entered a dimly lit antique clock shop. Inside, hundreds of clocks chimed in succession, marking the ticking of the seconds. He studied each second, touched the neatly arranged gears, and then selected a vintage pocket watch. The scene served as a perfect metaphor. Time is precious, and every second of adventure is a priceless treasure. A few steps later, V came across a vintage map shop. Shelves filled with scrolls of world maps awaited his unveiling. He selected an old map of Paris, examining the river lines and street names with a curious eye. His earnestness proved that a true traveler never stops planning his next move. In another corner of the city, V strolled through an open-air night market with low-hanging red and yellow lanterns. He took a bite of a chocolate banana crepe, letting the warmth seep into his cold companion. Street music plays, and he spontaneously claps his hands in appreciation. This moment expresses a simple joy that embraces the soul. The camera follows him entering an art supply store, where brushes and oil paints stand neatly on wooden shelves. V touches one of the brushes, feels it on his fingertips, then places several tubes of paint into a small basket. He appears to be brainstorming ideas for his next painting, a hint that his Parisian experience will be translated onto canvas. The viewer is swept up in anticipation, imagining the strokes of color that will emerge. The evening ends at an old metro station, where V waits for the train home, watching the flashing digital schedule. He gazes at the rails reflecting the lights, then looks down for a moment to gather his thoughts. The silent yet vibrant atmosphere of the city, the clattering of the rails, the faint splash of rain on the rails, all serve as a backdrop for personal reflection. The video invites us to experience the serenity beneath the bustle of the metropolis. Just before he steps onto the train, V turns and gives a small wave. His final smile seems to say goodbye and thank you. The viewer holds his breath, feeling the warmth of the connection he has left behind. And as the train doors closed, the screen dimmed, leaving room for the memories that had just been carved. After every moment of the adventure is captured, we are reminded that the video is more than just a shopping documentary. It is a catalog of emotions, inspiration, and self-discovery. Taehyung proves that the key to life's beauty lies in the courage to explore, experience, and cherish every small moment. Now, hope grows, the story will continue, crossing other cities where V will carve new stories, giving us reason to continue to be captivated. As the train pulls out of the station, the echoes of V's footsteps still ring in the ancient Parisian alleys. Beyond the cabin window, his silhouette seems to embrace the city he has just left, marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another in his story. As the train lights change, the video viewer is carried away by the imagination of his next adventure. Will it be Tokyo, London, or New York? The thrill of curiosity grows stronger, inviting us to follow his every step.
Everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, no, this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm